Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. And today I wanted to talk about one of my newer fitness devices, the Whoop 4.0, or is it 3.0 now? 4.0. So I just got this over Black Friday, so I've spent about a good, week and a half with it. And thought I'd just kind of share my initial review, kind of the good, the bad, what I like, I don't like, and kind of how it compares against my faithful Fenix. That's been my main. Well, Fenix. I've been a Garmin user for years now, so going to be kind of comparing that to that, and that's kind of always been my benchmark. I compare devices to. So first, what made me get this Whoop? So as much as I love Garmin, particularly the Fenix 7, it's been an amazing watch. I love the Garmin ecosystem. It's just, I'm just a fanboy. The issue I have with Garmin is that, it's a big watch. They have smaller watches, but then you lose some features and you can't really sync up too well between the watches. So anyway, the Fenix is an awesome watch, but for me, I had two issues with it. One, sleeping. I really wanted to track my sleep data. For this watch to kind of get its full benefits, you kind of have to wear it 24/7 because you want to take advantage of the body battery, your recovery, readiness, all those other fun stuff. But if you can't sleep with it, it kind of ruins the experience, I guess. So hard time sleeping with it. And then the other part too is that sometimes I didn't want to wear a watch. I like to wear other watches, so it became kind of conflicting that sometimes I missed wearing some of my other watches because I collect watches. And then there were times where, if it was like a special event, I don't want to wear this, so I couldn't collect data. So long story short, I wanted something that I could wear all the time, kind of inconspicuously. So what I like about the Whoop is that you can wear this anywhere. Wrist is kind of, I think majority wear it, but I actually either wear this on my bicep or on my ankle. So I actually seldom wear it on my wrist unless, I don't know, I've never worn it on my wrist yet, but I'll usually wear it on my bicep, or sometimes for workouts, I'll actually wear it on my forearm, similar to like the Scosche Rhythm Plus. I don't know if you guys are familiar with like some of those heart rate sensors that you wear on your forearm. I find that I get better accuracy for weightlifting off my forearm than I do off my bicep. So, or ankle even for that matter. So I like the flexibility this gives you. You can wear this anywhere you want virtually, So that was kind of the first thing I liked about it, is it would kind of open up more options for me to wear devices and where I track it. So that was kind of the hardware-wise what I liked about it. Now that I have it, what I've come to appreciate about it is really kind of the data that you get. So the data that you get from it is really kind of clean. So if you're familiar with Garmin, they've got while Garmin does a lot of good things, it's very cluttered with a ton of information that, there's no way to eliminate. So with the Garmin app, it's just, I think, too busy, too much information that, a lot of it doesn't apply to people. Probably nothing in there applies to everyone. So there's, I don't know, just a kind of I think they need to do a little cleanup on their app to kind of make it a little more actionable. So Whoop, for example, is very kind of simple, and everything you see is everything you kind of need to see. So kind of your main screen, you get your recovery, your strain, calories, your sleep. You kind of get some metrics to show you kind of how you're recovering over the week, how much strain you're using. So it kind of just, everything in here is actionable. So one thing that's different about Whoop than like Garmin, so Garmin tracks, you have your body battery, right? Your body battery kind of shows how much energy you have in the tank, and then you deplete it throughout the day. Whoop kind of does it differently. Whoop measures your strain, like how exhaustive your day was, and it kind of gives you recommendations on where you should be based on your recovery and just your overall performance. So as you use this device more, and it kind of sees patterns, it's going to kind of raise your strain goal to kind of push you to continue to improve in your fitness. So it's kind of an evolving goal in the sense that it'll assign you based upon your recovery and just your kind of history with training. Now, the strain is a little it's very cardiovascular focused. So, weightlifting doesn't quite hit the strain like cardio does. And I found that this device, had a little hard time with weightlifting. I mean, I'm still kind of testing, trying to see where's the best spot for it. But like a lot of optical sensors, they struggle with weightlifting just due to, the muscle contractions and movement. So I'm still kind of testing it, but I feel like the forearm so far has been the most reliable. So it measures strain versus, so instead of knowing kind of how much energy you start a day with and how much you use, it focuses more on your kind of physical exertion. It's primarily going to be triggered by doing like workouts. Like if you just, putz around all day, you might get like a 1 perhaps, but if you do like cardio, like over here I did cardio, it was almost 12. Otherwise, on non-workout days I got a 4. On weightlifting days it's like a 7. Yesterday I lifted weights 7.7. So again, kind of gives you something to work for. And then as you're working out, it'll show you kind of your strain, and like you can set a goal for strain so you can kind of see and work out till you hit your strain goal. So kind of cool. I actually kind of like that, to be honest. And then it sets the goal again based upon how you slept the night before, or how you recovered, and then kind of historical training data. Next is going to be recovery. This is kind of, again, your HRV, resting heart rate, sleep kind of goes into this, kind of lets you know if you're fully recovered or not recovered. And I found it to be pretty accurate, to be honest. Like last night I had a really good sleep, went to early, slept the whole night, came out of here at 92 the night before. It's pretty accurate, I would say. I mean, I feel it. And Garmin, I think, is pretty spot on with it too. I kind of think they're both accurate. Then you get sleep. So what I like about it also, it kind of tells you how much sleep you need. So it kind of tracks your sleep depth. So if you haven't been getting the proper amount of sleep, yesterday, the day before, you accumulate sleep depth. So then it tells you kind of how much you need to make up for it. And then also kind of what kind of performance you want to achieve. Like, do you want to get to 70% performance? You can set it to 100% performance. So based upon, what you plan on doing tomorrow, you can kind of plan your sleep, I suppose. This one's kind of hard for me, to be honest, because maybe it's just me. I'm not a good sleeper. I have a hard time with sleep, to be honest. I can't just go to sleep the app will say I need to be in bed by 7:27 p.m. No chance in hell will I fall asleep. I can go to bed. There's a 0 chance I'll fall asleep at 7:27. Or no, actually that's how much time I spend in bed. But it gives you, I think this might be it. Somewhere in here, it'll tell you when you need to go to sleep. I just got to remember where it was, but it'll give you, here we go. Hours of sleep needed. So I guess that's for last night, how many I got, how many I needed. But I think as you get closer to bed, it'll tell you when you need to go to bed. But my point being is that I'm not one that can just fall asleep on a dime based upon what it says. So for me, this isn't really too helpful. I mean, it is and it isn't. I mean, it's helpful, but there's nothing I can do about it. I just can't fall asleep until I'm tired, and I'm not going to be tired sometimes when this app says so. So, take that with a grain of salt. The sleep has been pretty spot on. I actually bought the Withings sleep mat to be my new sleeping benchmark. That way I can kind of compare the two. So it's been pretty much right on with that one. There was a couple nights I managed to sleep with this as well to compare it, and I thought it was pretty much spot on. So there's a YouTube channel that tests these much more thoroughly. Quantified Scientist, I believe is his name. I would encourage you to check out his channel because he actually does a very clinical level type testing to test the accuracy of sleep, and the Whoop does test pretty high. So that kind of in a nutshell is really how the device works. You can kind of see it's very simple. You've got just 4 menus, 4 areas: strain, recovery, sleep. Kind of 3 basic things that you kind of track, really. How hard you worked, how well you recovered, how well you slept. And that's kind of really it. It's kind of very simplified, and I feel like it gives you good kind of data that you can actually look and maybe, factor into your decisions. One thing also about sleep is I like their journaling feature. So what happens every morning when you wake up and you open the app, you're going to have a journal to fill out with questions. and it's kind of customizable, so you can actually add what you want to track or what you're interested in to seeing. So there's kind of a whole menu of different let me see if I can find the journal here. Customized journal. Okay. So you can kind of see there's just a ton of different questions that you can add here that you want to track. And the whole point is that you'll start tracking this information, over the course of time, and then it'll start making correlations to any of these activities in your sleep and performance. So eventually the goal will be that you can start kind of seeing what impacts your sleep in a good way or a bad way, what helps you with recovery. That's kind of the goal, is to start kind of tracking your lifestyle habits, whether they're nutritional, lifestyle, whatever it is. You track it with the intention to then correlate that to your kind of metrics. So I think that's kind of cool. I'm anxious to see. That's going to take probably maybe a month or so to start kind of getting that kind of data. But either way, I am kind of anxious to kind of start seeing some of those correlations to see if, like, things like, for example, like intermittent fasting, is that helping my sleep or hurting my sleep? Is watching my device or melatonin, things like that. So in a nutshell, that's kind of what I've done with this device so far and why I've kind of liked it. It's only been 10 days or so, but so far it's been pretty good. Now, as far as cons, what do I not like about the device? Well, for starters, the battery on this thing is not that good. For given, there's no screen like this one has. There's no, GPS on here. I don't know, nothing crazy on here. So it's kind of strange that it only lasts. I mean, I charge mine frequently, but I feel like I could only maybe get about 4 days out of this thing. So it's kind of strange that it gets such poor battery life for being such a simple device. Now, the charging on this thing is kind of good and bad. So the way this charges is that you have a battery pack that you put on, and it'll charge it from the battery pack, which is kind of cool because it means you don't have to take it off. So that's kind of what I mean. I charge this quite often because I'll just, when I'm working, I'll just put this on for an hour or two just to top it off, and then take it off. That way I kind of always stay at a good level. So that's kind of cool that it does it that way, but the downside is that there's no way to charge it without this battery pack. So it does take a long time to charge if you're charging both. When I first got this device, the battery and this need to be charged, so I had to put them both on, and then you plug a USB-C here, so then it took a long time. So I wish there was a way to charge it directly. And the other downside is that even though this is wireless charging, they made it, they're not using like the same kind of wireless charging protocol that like your Samsung phone would do, for example. So you can't just use any wireless charger and put it on there, which would be great, because then you can just lay it down on one of your chargers that you probably already have. But nope, you have to use their proprietary charger, which is why I ended up getting a second one just in case I lose it or it's not charged. So that's why my only con is just the charging system on it. The other con too I'm not a big fan of is their bracelets or their bands. They're kind of like a cloth knit, which aesthetically looks okay, nice, but functionally it's not good. It absorbs sweat, it absorbs liquid, so it can get very kind of dingy if you try. I mean, I don't wear mine in the shower for that reason, because it gets soaked. I think that would have been nice if they offered some kind of like silicone option, something like this that that doesn't absorb moisture, so you can wear it in a shower or the pool or whatever. So this knit, not a big fan of it. It's comfortable, but it doesn't do well with moisture. So that's it on the cons. So the next thing I think that comes up a lot with this device is price. So thought we'd run through some numbers to kind of show you kind of at least how I justify the price on this device here. Let's get a new page. So, and I'm just going to use retail prices because there's sales on both. So, maybe you get a sales price, maybe you're not, but I'll kind of stick to retail prices. So, using my Fenix 7, that retails for $900, and the Whoop, if you do 2 years, is 400. Oh, what am I pressing here? $480 for 2 years. Now, the Fenix watch, I feel like you can get, I don't know, let's just say you can get 4 years of good use out of it before maybe you have battery issues or whatnot. So, $900 for 4 years. The Whoop, if you renew it, will cost you $960 for 4 years. So you can kind of see over a 4-year period of time, I feel like the cost is going to be the same between the Whoop and the Fenix. So money-wise, you're kind of in the same way, but obviously there's a couple of key differences. One, the Fenix has a resale value, right? So even after 4 years of use, you could probably still sell it, maybe $100, maybe $200, so you can recoup some money there. And the Fenix obviously is a much more robust device, right? I mean, this serves as a watch, smartwatch, GPS, navigation, maps, music, external heart rate monitor. I mean, this thing obviously does everything. So functionally, the Fenix 7 obviously is a better value, I guess you can say, gives more. So that's kind of, I guess you can kind of weigh in. So can I live off the Whoop alone? Probably, but I still will use this periodically for, I've done a few cycling sessions or weightlifting sessions just for testing, but moving forward, I actually have not worn this now for a couple days. But once spring and summer roll around and I get back into biking, I will be using this to track my biking, my mileage, things like particularly the mileage mainly, because I guess I can track all my health data on my Whoop, but I like to track my distance and, performance, like from a speed perspective and stuff on the watch. So I'll still need this watch. So that's just kind of how I broke out the cost. I know that initially I kind of resisted too because I thought it was overpriced. But once you kind of look at it that way, that it's really the cost, because to some people, like for me, the Fenix has more value, but for some people maybe it doesn't. So that's kind of subjective, the value piece. But I think the price and then the resale value are kind of factual. So really, realistically, if we be conservative and say we can get $100 for it, or I'd say you can get about $100 for it. I'm just trying to think what Fenixes are going for now. It might be like a Fenix 5. We'll say 100. So really, $800 versus $960 is what you end up being. So more, but close enough to where I would kind of call it a draw and tie. I mean, the benefit here is that you always get new hardware. So when Whoop comes out with a Whoop 5, you'll get it for free as long as you're an active member. So maybe that makes up for the resale value. But for all intents and purposes, I feel like the cost of ownership between the Fenix and the Whoop, I think, is kind of a draw if you map it out over 4 years of use. That's, at least in my eyes, that's kind of how I looked at it. Now, obviously, this is a more capable device, so whatever, you make that call. But yeah, that's my story on the Whoop. I'll probably come back maybe in a couple months once I really kind of put it through a few months of use and see how it's still doing. But I bought the 2-year membership, so I will have it for 2 years. So I'll be able to provide some long-term reviews, maybe a 3-month, year, maybe 1-year checkpoint, maybe a 2-year checkpoint, just to see if how well it works, how happy I'm with it, and if it actually helped me with some meaningful changes to my life in terms of sleep or recovery, etc. But yeah, that's it for this one. So thanks for tuning in, and I will catch you on the next one. See ya.